Let the big dog eat. Hi there, folks, and welcome to another episode of Welcome to another episode of Michael's Backyard Marina. Well, it's 80 degrees right now. 82, 83 was the high today. It's mid-afternoon on a Friday, and Saturday's supposed to be another high at 80. We just went through 3 days where it dropped down into the 20s, and I winterized everything. But, you know, this carburetor job just hasn't set well with me. And this is on the 1973 Larson. This is a 2.5 liter Mercruiser. You guys have all seen it. The air quality with the harvest and everything here in Iowa is absolute garbage. There's so much dust. We haven't had any rain. My pond is down probably 5 feet. It's nuts. I don't know why they haven't called it a drought, but that's what we're having. Whether they want to call it a drought or not. Anyway, that dead spot in the acceleration has bugged me ever since I've had it. Yeah, the engine runs good. When I did change the oil came out, for something that only ran for a couple of hours, the oil came out really not good. It almost looked like, you know, oil mixed with, let's just say, rust. And, you know, one guy left a comment on this carburetor job thing that he's never seen a carburetor that bad himself, and he would have declared that this boat or engine had been underwater. And I can't disagree. And what makes you really start to lean on that a little harder is the fact that the oil came out that ruddy, rusty brown after a few hours of running. And was there a lot of rust in there? And everything we had in there was just breaking it down and cleaning it out. And when I pulled the oil filter out, the oil filter, you know, had that, it was just nasty looking. My wife came out and talked to me, so I had a little interruption in my flow of thoughts here. But anyway, I think I was talking about the dead spot in the carburetor. Let's go with that. So the dead spot in this carburetor and the dead spot in the acceleration, well, we were talking about the underwater, that's right. Now we're back on track. He hadn't seen one that was that nasty. He had suspicions that this thing had been underwater before. And, you know, with everything I'm seeing, maybe it was. Maybe it did sink. Maybe it got pulled out. Who knows? The whys and the wheres and, you know, why there's not that much moisture in the engine. And the oil was drained out of it when I got it with the drain hose out the back. So maybe that was the case in this situation. But you know, since then we've ran it. Runs really well. We put all kinds of spray. What the heck was that? I think the bees are having a little revitalization party in this warmth. But let's see if we can get back in. This video is gonna be fixing that dead spot, and we're gonna run it some more, and we're gonna put some serious hours on this motor as far as out here running. I'm gonna leave it running literally for hours is the plan. It's gonna consume a little bit of water. My water bill is gonna go up a tick. But I just gotta know, did we clean it all out last time? Because I've actually since then drained it, winterized it, and put fresh oil, fresh filter back on it. And so it's ready to start up right now. All I gotta do is put fuel to it, a battery on it, water, and it'll fire right up. But before I go through all of that, let's go ahead and pull the carburetor back off. Let's get it into the shop. I'm gonna pull the top back off and not try to disturb the bottom at all. Leave the fuel in it, as it were, and see if I can get that cleaned out to where the accelerator pump will actually pump and squirt fluid. As soon as it squirts some stuff, I get it doing that, this thing's gonna be tip top. So the other thing I'm gonna do, hot diggity, I got this Riker toolkit. Now, when I say toolkit, it's not a toolkit. The Riker tool bag I got off of Amazon. I saw another guy using it. It's pretty slick, except for that part. Hey, that's where that 1/2 inch wrench went. I bought a different set of wrenches since then to put in here. But the cool part about this, you could actually hang this up, work out of the zipper compartments, or just lay it down like I'm gonna do. But I'm doing a little test here to see, is this toolkit gonna work for me? Do I have enough tools in here? Let's just say that if we wanted to pull a carburetor down, can I? You know, I got a couple adjustable wrenches in here. I've got a, you know, metric and standard. Because yeah, all my stuff here must be, you know, pretty much standard, but the guy that you might be loaning some tools to on the boat next to you, trying to get him back going again, might be metric. So we're gonna set that aside. Now I'm gonna have to climb myself back in here and there again, disconnect the fuel line, the throttle linkage, the heat riser tube, and 4 bolts and lift this back off. And we'll take it in the shop and see if we can get that thing cleaned out. Otherwise, if I can't get it cleaned out and working properly, I got a top to another carburetor just like this that is in better shape that I can layer right on here and get rid of that dead spot. But I can't give up on bringing this one back. I think it's got capabilities. The mistake I made when I put this one back together, there was 2 small holes I'll show you that I did not run wire through and make sure it was cleaned out. And that was my mistake. I tried to do it with it on here. Can't get at it very well, but I'll show you where I'm talking about. It's the accelerator pump jets. It's just, psst, you know, it's called the snake bite squirt. Did he really just say that? I did. All right, up and over and in. I'm gonna aim you down a little bit. So we got the fuel line here we need to bust loose. Now working out of a tool bag like this is not optimal, I'll tell you that right now. But having those tools in a tool bag when you're broke down on the lake and you might be able to get yourself running, it's pretty optimal. All right, so I got the fuel line backed off here. Last time I removed this bolt, because it did make it nice for getting this fuel line backed all the way out of the way here. Now one guy left a comment talking about how he was, you know, didn't endorse me using these cheap wrenches that I got from Hobo Freight, or, you know, the lesser grades of tools that you might have at some of the big box stores. But, and he said he had a wrench he was putting just moderate pressure on and the jaw broke off and hit him right between the eyes, and he had to get 6 stitches. From that point on, he quit using low class wrenches. And I'm thinking to myself, how big a wrench was that? I'm curious. So if you're watching, it couldn't have been a 1/2 inch wrench. What size wrench was it that you were using that caused 6 stitches? Mercy. Understand, that's, you know, they don't just hand out stitches just for fun. There's a real need, and you must have had a pretty good gash in the old forehead noggin part of your head. There we go, that's loose. We'll stick this bolt right back in the spacer here so we don't lose it. And then we're gonna get the heat riser tube, which is, I believe, still 1/2 inch. Yep, there it goes. Loose. Now what does it take down here? 1/2 inch. So you can remove almost this whole carburetor with the 1/2 inch. And then I got to remove the throttle linkage, which is a non-1/2 inch situation. Oh, to get started here, I'm just going to go ahead and remove all the screws that separate the bottom from the top. But first, I want to go ahead and get rid of some linkages here to get them out of my way. This one especially, this one and this one are tying the top and the bottom together. Got to remove them. So, handy dandy needle nose, pull this clip out. And as you guys have heard me say in other videos, take a picture of this assembly if you're taking it apart for the first time. Now this isn't a carburetor rebuild, this is a carburetor discovering what I did wrong situation. You know what I forgot to do. Oh, almost forgot. Magnetic tray time, baby. That way we don't lose them little parts. And I can't accidentally knock it off the table either. And we'll take this guy loose right here. Must have been stronger that day. I felt like that was pretty tight. This one's important just to realize this is going up. You know, and it has a a situation also in it that it can only go in one way because there's a little notch on it there. Type of situation. That's there. That's there now. We're free to take the top off. Now I'm going to leave the automatic choke where it's at. No sense in taking that back off because that's going to come off with the lid. Well, let's just get in here and see what's not happening to me. Now this screw I'm taking out first, and it's just by happenstance I'm taking it out first, is a little longer than the rest. So, because it's got, you know, it's raised up here, up on top here. Now one guy did tell me, and I'm sharing stuff as I learn it, and people teach me stuff and leave comments. One fella, or fellette, told me that these gaskets, if you put a little bit of oil on the gaskets, when you're putting it, not soaking them, now don't get me wrong, I do tend to agree with the premise of it. I haven't tried it yet. But if you put a little oil on the entire surface of the gasket and then squeeze it down, you know, just a fingertip's worth, you know, not much at all, that the gasket will stay moist. And when you pull it back apart, say 2 years later, these gaskets will let go of the metal. But it doesn't, according to what he's thinking, it doesn't impact the ability of it to seal and do what it's supposed to do, you know, as far as what gasket work is supposed to be doing. But guys, leave your comments down below as to what you think on that one. I love hearing the suggestions. I love hearing the tips. Some of the tips I hear, I'm like, I'm going to go do that right now. Like the one where I did the outdrive situation. Let's just see what we can do here. So we're going to lift this out as a whole. This stuff all works. We're just going to set it right here. Safe and secure. This is the part I'm talking about here. There are two little holes. There's one right here and one right here. When I get this out, I'll zoom up and show you what I'm talking about. But there should be, when you run the accelerator pump, there should be a jet stream of fuel runs right down these two and makes things happen. But I'm not convinced that this guy got, you know, I know I didn't get those holes cleaned out. I'm pretty confident that I, you know, just missed that one. I blow air through everything, but this thing was extra corroded, extra nasty. So I needed to take extra care, and it didn't happen. All right. So this guy here just lifts right back out. Nice thing about a recent rebuild is everything should steel up and work for me again. Yeah, I could have done better. So let me see if I can get you in here a little tighter. I'm gonna. Ooh. Okay, we're gonna see if I can steady it in. There we go. So right here, see those two little holes right there? That comes from your accelerator pump. That's supposed to squirt fuel when you hit your accelerator pump, which would come out this way, down the throat of the two barrel, one for each side. So now I'm going to get a wire. I'm going to show you what I do to clean it out. Let's see if we can make it better. So what I've done, I'm going to see if I can run a wire through there. Now I have a stainless steel wire brush that I use for my welder. I'm just going to grab one of these wires off of it. This could be any stainless, it doesn't have to be stainless steel, but it's pretty strong. And just give it a yank. And I got me a stainless wire there now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and see if I can get that to pass through. Well, that passes right through. Well, that appears to be pretty clean. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the accelerator pump off of here. Actually, I got a new one. I'm just going to grab a new one. Okay, this one is not new, but it is. Now we can see where that's coming up, right there. So that tells me that this thing should pump, but it comes up through that little, underneath this gasket, I don't want to remove the gasket, but underneath here there's a little T-piece here under the gasket that has a spring and a check ball, and that seems to be okay. So what on this apparatus lines up with that? So when this is down on here like so that appears to line up with that hole right there. Yes, no, maybe? Yeah, right here. There's a little channel right here. See if I can get you back in for a close-up here. So right here, there's a little oval-shaped channel. And the hole goes at an angle that way. And when I'd hit the accelerator pump, it would just not, it would actually just kind of like trickle out of here. It just kind of oozed down. It wasn't a confirmed solid squirt down through there. All right, so over here there's a slot that goes down, and it just sits there with fuel. Whatever's in the bowl here fills that up. And then, so I tip it over, fill it up. Now watch right here. You'll see what should be happening. When your accelerator pump goes down, what you're doing is pushing this down, it should go. See that? How that? Do it one more time for you here. Acceleration. Whoops. Acceleration. So that raw gas that you're shooting down in there, that should give that extra burst of gas to go with the air, because when you just open up this bottom butterfly here and, you know, give her the onions. All right, so that seems to work okay. Now I question whether I have the float set right. Because if this, here's the other situation. If this isn't filling the bowl up full enough to go this little slot here that runs down at the bottom, if it doesn't fill it up enough to let this accelerator pump hole fill up its chamber, and then when you go to give her the squirts, there's nothing there for it to actually do. But we've proven right there, if it's full, she is passing. So, and when I pulled this off, the reservoir, I would dare say, was right at the very bottom of that slot that's there. Can you guys see that right there? I'm going to point it out here. So right there, see where I'm pointing at right here at the bottom of this slot right there? So I question whether there is enough fuel, or the float is set such that it will let enough fuel come in. So I think what I want to do is I'm going to set this float here. Let's get it in front of you here. I'm going to take this float here. And you guys are probably going to cringe when you see me do this. Maybe you won't. I'm going to grab it right here with a pair of needle nose. You can't see because my hand's in the way. Right here. And I'm just going to give her a little, hi-ya. Maybe just a touch more. Now what I've got is a situation where I don't think I want it quite right there. I want it there. So we're not level anymore, right? I am angled down. The float should still shut off because the float's not hitting the top of the carburetor. I should allow the float bowl here. Dun, dun, dun. It should allow this to ride a little deeper in water, or carry a little more fuel in it. which would ensure the accelerator pump has plenty of fuel in it. Now, something else I missed I want to share with you. There's 2 holes right here, and there's 2 holes that's right there. I'm shoving this little wire through this hole here, and I see it comes to the inside pocket right in here. This one I notice has got, let's just say it doesn't look like a hole. And should there be one of these on each side? You know, my gut tells me yeah. So that was plugged. I missed that one too, that little fart knocker right there. Plugged. So wiggle the wire in there and well, now I can see daylight through a hole I couldn't see through before. This one here I could easily blow air through, because this one goes down through this guy right here. That passage seems to be in pretty good shape. Yeah, we're golden there. All right, let's go. Let's do a recap of what we found out here. Some of our discoveries, as it were. Well, we turned out that these 2 jets were not plugged. They were free as the wind. We did find a plugged hole here, or here. I can't remember which one now. That could have been, you know, the systolic and the dynamic pressure radiation from the airfoil underduct. Could have been preventing that from happening due to this hole being plugged. I don't know. Maybe that was it, maybe not. All those words I just said don't mean much. All right, I'm confident this is now clean and free of problems. So we're gonna put it back on here for the last time. We also made the adjustment to the float so that this bowl here will run a little fuller to make sure it hits and fills up that accelerator pump hole, reservoir, pocket, you know, whatever you guys decide to call it. I'm saying we're getting this back on here. We're going to put it back on the boat. And there's enough daylight left. I think I can get her running and let her warm up and see if we've fixed our little bit of our issue. All right, 100% assembled. Now, one more time, just for the peace of mind, I'm going to tip this over enough, whoop, to fill that accelerator bowl up. We're going to take the old, because it's still got viable rubber here, and I did understand that there's a possibility there's two different sizes of these, but this one I got the right size in here. So we'll go down there where there it is. It meets that's where the tapers down and meets the diameter of that cup. Let's just give her a push down. Boom. That's just what we wanted to see. All right, that's awesome. Let's go ahead and stick this guy carefully and gently back into place. Sets right in there perfectly. The extra long one back in that spot. Now me, if you want to use your little impact driver or whatever, go for it. On these, taking it apart, I might use an impact to take it apart. But when it's time to reassemble, let's not get in too big a hurry. Now, did I refer to the manual for the float settings? Nope. Should I? Of course. But where I have it set now, I'm pretty confident there's going to be enough fluid going into that bowl. Pretty much no question in my mind, because we'll see how it runs. Worst case scenario, I'll take it back off. Doesn't take that long. Alrighty, we can pull the old rag-a-tag out of the hole. And we're ready to set the carburetor back in place. Oh my gosh, that's heavy. All right. Bring on the fire juice. Alrighty, I'm gonna leave you guys back here at the camera. As far as the sound goes, and we're gonna get some water and we're gonna fire it up. I want you guys back here to hear it. That popped right off beautifully. Should smoke a little bit, smell a little awful because I fogged the carburetor when in the top end. I'll have to say that run pretty good. The final two tweaks I made here was I backed the two idle jet screws that down at the bottom of the base of the carburetor. I backed them up another 3/4 of a turn each, because the dead spot was greatly diminished now, and that's awesome. But I think it was just too lean at an idle. Now I just reach in there and give her a smooth slide, and she just takes off. It doesn't have that dead spot. And you might hear a little bit of a lope, a little bit of a, you know, just some weird sounds going on there. As far as it's firing really well, but something that would crisp this up a whole lot would be if you were to put new points in it. Possibly some fresh plug wires, you know, get that electrical connection sharp. And to really top it off would be to put electronic ignition in it. But right now, I'm going to take this mic. This is literally 2 inches from the valve cover. No engine noise, zero zilch. Of course, you guys saw that if you watched my previous video on the valve adjustment, but I'm happy with that. Just rolls right on and gets after it. Well, now that curiosity's been satisfied. Because we knew everything else was right. The carburetor was just a touch off center. We found one plugged hole. We made a float adjustment, so now it's got plenty of fuel. And now we're gonna let it run. We've been running now for 8 minutes total. So I'm gonna let this thing run for, I ain't kidding you, a couple hours. But I do think I need to run and get some fuel if I'm gonna do that, because this is running kind of low. Bring her up just a tick. That's right as rain. Let's check back in after an hour or two of it running here. We'll look it over. We'll shut it down, check the oil, and then she's good right now. She's real good. I knew it was running low on fuel, so I went to the store and left it running. I come back and it's off. So I just filled the tank back up with 2.5 gallons here of a 3-gallon tank. And let's just see if it ran out of fuel. How much time turning it over will it take to get it running? I'm gonna leave the mic right here so you guys can hear the starter going, wow, 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 wow. You know, that noise it makes. Let's see what it takes. That wasn't too bad. Couple of wangadangas, and she's right back to singing, baby. We'll call that first round there a half hour worth of running. I did check the oil. Looks good. She's full. Doesn't look all brownish yet after a half hour, so maybe the rusty stuff we got is out of its system. I cannot be at all upset about how this thing is running. Let's check back in after an hour. We might have some low light conditions, so I might have to bring in some fake light. We're just gonna let it run. Let the big dog eat. All right, it's the next morning. Let's take a little look at this dipstick here. The engine oil's still full. Got a white towel here. Let's just see what. Looks pretty good. So we've ran it an hour and a half at this point. And everything looks pretty good. A little tinge of dirty on the oil, but not bad. This engine is running decently rich. And being that everything's probably not as tight as brand new, but even though we got good compression, a little blow by can still occur. Let's pull this air cleaner up. I'm gonna watch the choke work. As you can see, the choke is wide open right here. We're gonna give her some throttle, a full throttle, which should give me a squirt down the throat. Look at that. Went shut, just as it should. So the choke's adjusted perfect. I'm going to reconnect the battery. Battery connected. All right, I'm leaving the microphone back here at the back of the boat. Let's see how she turns over and starts. Perfect. She's right. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to let this melodious sound roar while I'm talking because I just love the sound of these engines running. I hope you guys learned something from me. If you didn't, hope you enjoyed just the video in general. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Don't be afraid to share this with friends. And we can all learn something together, keep moving forward. Thing is performing out of its mind now. I mean, there's no hesitation. She does everything she's supposed to do. Like I said, it's ran for an hour and a half. We've probably run it for another 15 minutes already this morning. I'm actually gonna let this thing run for another hour or two, which you guys might think is ridiculous, but I wanna make sure that whatever caused that muddy, ruddy oil, you know, is flushed out of its system. I think it is now. The good news is, next step, yanking this engine out of the boat. It's a prime candidate to go in another boat that hasn't been neglected as much when it comes to rot. And we'll get her, let's see it live to run another day. And I'm probably not gonna have to re-winterize this one because it's gonna pull out of here and go right into my shop. And we'll, I don't know, maybe we'll do some other fun stuff with it. I don't know. But I do have a couple of engines that I haven't ran in the shop, and we'll be working on those up and coming real soon. This is Michael saying, if it ain't broke, fix it till it is. We'll see you on the next video.